I'm based in England, and this is home for me. And I've been working in financial services as a practitioner for over 20 years now, and in financial technology innovation for over 26 years, um, back in the day before the dot-com crash. Um, and I'm here today to talk to you about my experience since 2015, when I started researching the intersection of artificial intelligence, neuroscience, and wealth management in a space, in an emerging space, which is called neuroeconomics. And I'm interested in that space because as we move into adoption of AI in financial services, we will see, in my view, this is my expectation, this is my prediction, we will, technology, AI algorithms will be able to know ourselves, to know us better than we know ourselves. So that level of knowledge and insight is to be expected. And we need to have governance in place in order to be able to ensure that it's used for the benefit of users and not abused. Just as much as the use of social media was supposed to make us all closer to each other and better connected, and it achieved exactly the opposite, quite frankly, and it almost broke down democracies across the planet. So basically, my interest is in the business and the business and governance of artificial intelligence in financial services. In other words, how to deploy ethical AI for business growth and profitability. In my work, I advise board of directors, I work with C-suite, and I also work with technology and engineering teams to advise them on what it actually means to deploy ethical AI from the get-go, from the test phase, and scale it through the enterprise. So I've had quite a lot of, and I'm grateful, a lot of success internationally. I've been recognized for my work in various forums, and I've advised the World Economic Forum, the Ministry of Finance in Japan, UK government on AI national strategy and impact on financial services. I worked with a number of regulators, as well as AI companies, in particular startups, fintechs, but also established companies in financial services like global banks and asset management houses. So yeah, that's me. There are two components. The first one is understanding what are we talking about. So what is AI? Okay. We hear so many times conversations about I'm so-and-so an expert in AI and machine learning. There is no understanding and common ground definition for AI, but for the purpose of business and the use of AI in business, I would submit to you that AI is a basket of technologies and machine learning is a subset of AI, just like neural NLP, computer vision, and all of the subsets there, which are frequently mentioned. And deep learning is a subset of machine learning. So this is very important when you make this distinction, because you actually understand what conversation you're having. And artificial intelligence is all about software, which has the ability to operate intelligently on its own. That's what AI is. You'll find out that actually there are more computer science who are very into philosophy of computer science, and people who are like really into the philosophical engagement with technology. They want to make the distinction between AI and machine learning, because in their mind, AI is the intelligent side of technology, and whereas machine learning is just the plumbing, is the horsepower, is the engine. I don't agree with that. I think it creates a lot of confusion, and I've seen in our industry a lot of confusion between those two terms. So the first thing is understand what AI is. The second thing is understand what we can do with it. Today, we use narrow AI, and primarily we do prediction. We predict whether someone gets a loan, whether someone will default, whether, I don't know, in other industries, I don't know, machinery will need maintenance or things like this. So it's a prediction machine, but prediction is actually statistics plus assumptions. So in order to build these algorithms, one needs to make some assumptions. And those assumptions, that's where bias and our own individual structure and lens of seeing the world is hidden. And that creates the bias in algorithm. We also have bias in the data. So the data, obviously, it's the bulk of what we use, is the information we use. We run it through those algorithms, and then the outcome is whatever we build that algorithm for, whether it's prediction for credit rating or personal loans or I don't know, opening a bank account or something. There are so many applications. I'm sure everybody is familiar with those. So these are the two main things. The first one is definition of AI in very clear terms, and that machine learning is a subset of AI. And the other thing is to understand how prediction is built and what it uses, and how bias creeps in, and why we need to keep an eye on that component, and where bias creeps in this model, and it creeps into the assumptions which we need to make when we design algorithms. And finally, the final point is to do with governance of this technology. In any executive position, one needs to be aware of different ways of engaging with technology like this. And one, it's important to have auditability of the algorithms and everything what has gone into it, including data, type of data, labeling, everything, what was done from the inception all the way to the output stage. Traceability of decision-making, transparency, and then we go into fairness and all those other considerations which are in line with the, I would argue, ESG agenda. So I hope this makes a little bit of sense. That's in very broad terms, that's what an executive would need to know to start from.
So we can open for questions, because this is a shorter version of sessions than we usually do, because this wasn't a specific topic. So I know that Alma wanted to ask something. I don't know, Alma, if you are there ready to ask your question.
Sorry. Really interesting, Clara. I love everything what you explain is mind-blowing. I've already registered on your newsletter, and I will buy the book, because even Marisol, I mean, now that I met you, the author, it's you embrace and you invite people to learn more, which is what we need. Independently from the gender, I think everyone should be learning about this. But my question is more about, since you have wide experience, you worked with so many people, so diversity, all these type of situations, what keeps you awake at night?
Is the concern. It's a concern. It's a real concern. The concern that our industry is adopting this technology at such a high speed, and they don't have time. They're more interested in pushing for innovation, which is, I welcome innovation, but in our industry, it seems to me that we are not putting enough regulatory frameworks around protecting personal financial data. So that's what keeps me at night, and that's what worries me. And why so important? Personal financial data. So everything you do in your existence as a in your financial existence, the money you save, the money you spend, the patterns, how you spend money, whether you buy shoes, whether you buy clothes, whether you buy more food or more drinks or whatever you spend money on. All of that creates a pattern which is unique, is like a unique footprint of you. It's an intimate definition of who you are. And there is research which has identified that through financial personal data, one can predict and infer one's mental state, position in social and social status, progression in career, divorce. So all of that very intimate, like seriously intimate part of our lives. And when you have that data, personal financial data overlaid with social media engagement on Facebook and everything else, and WhatsApp and all that, you obtain such a nuanced version of who we are as individuals. And whoever is getting hold of this data and corroborate it and put it together, they will build systems which will know us better than we know ourselves. Mark my words. And that's what keeps me at night, because we do not have systems in place and regulations in place to protect the users. Not even the European Act, which is the proposed regulations to regulate artificial intelligence, which is very welcome. It's something which I've wanted for a long time, and I'm very, very supportive. But not even they didn't embed provisions for individuals to be protected and to have a say in all of this. So that keeps me awake at night and very worried.
Absolutely. And do you think is that could it be? I mean, we could get into an endless conversation, but why do you think there are no regulations around keeping secure, or at least some sort of safety? Okay, I'm not saying that because everything is breakable, but could it be, you get my question, right? So why are there no regulations that they can set up to 50% of that information must not be shared with any other third party?
There are a lot of commercial interests at stake. So investors, so if you look at the debates, at least in the UK, there's a huge debate, a huge tension between the fintechs and traditional banks over customer data, over our financial personal data, right? So the fintechs want more data. The banks are very keen to give that data away. Then open banking came along, and then everybody just like started raving about it. I would say kind of, a little bit of overexcitement and not enough thinking into it. 2 years into open banking discussion, now I see people actually going, hang on a minute, we need an independent regulator to overview and supervise what we do in open banking. And this is something which I've been saying for such a long time. We are not prepared for open banking. We're not, that personal data is just like up for grabs for everybody. And once it's out there, you can never take it back. People are not educated. Users are not informed what actually can happen with their data. And that's very worrying. And I think it should be part of the banks, anybody who works in this space, they should invest, and fintechs as well, they should invest in materials to educate the users in terms of exposure, what it means when you click, yeah, share my data, my bank account data with everybody under the sun, under the open banking project. What does that mean to me? Is it really going to make a difference in terms of me saving more money? What happens to my data? Can I take it back? Have I got any trace? Is my data traceable? How do I know that I got it back? So these are huge questions, but I'm glad to see that there are serious conversations in the open banking community requesting independent oversight for what's happening in open banking, because they've already identified stuff which I've discussed for years. Yeah. The whole open banking environment, as it was designed through regulations a few years back, was open to abuse. abuse of data, personal data. And that's a big thing. It's like it's like social media. Once you got it out, you can't take it back.
I was going to ask you something related to that, because this also is not exclusive for financial sector, although of course it's critical now with financial data. But of course, for example, Amazon has all your purchasing behavior, and it's not even within the bank's information. So
purchasing behavior, it's absolutely so you see, when you overlay all these data sets, purchasing behavior, social media, Facebook, how many cats do you like, how many dogs do you like, how many babies, is that your friend who's done this and so that's how you infer a behavior, people's behavior. And on top of everything else, you put financial data. And then you are in a position where actually, if you put one more layer over this, you are, anybody who has control over these systems, they can control your life in ways in which you don't even know forever. And you'll not be able to have, I don't know, access to credit or open bank accounts in different jurisdictions for reasons for which, just because the computer says no. So these are very serious conversations we need to have now. The layer over the behavioral data sets, social media, financial services, personal data, the one layer which is at the moment missing, but people have started waking up to think, actually, hang on, we need to get into it. It's this neuro engagement layer. It's the neuroeconomics and neuroinvesting emerging field, which I've been researching, part of my academic work and interest since 2015. And why is this so important? Because every time we engage with our bank apps or buy things online or use our phones, every time we do all of this, there is brain activity here. So it's happening. Something is triggered. And that activity in our brain triggers different centers of memory and different types of memory. And when you trigger that memory with a typical brain activity induced by that type of memory, I'm not going to go into it, but there are different types of memories. So when you have triggers, then you are predicted to have a different behavior. So for instance, if you are born in a family where parents abused you, and they abuse substance and they abuse finances, you're more likely to replicate that behavior. You're more likely to have a behavior which indicates that you're going to be spending money typically mindlessly. And shopping for relaxation might be a behavior which is rather to be inferred from someone who has certain types of activity, brain activity, and typical engagements online. So from those data sets, one can, with a properly designed algorithm, one can infer so much about you to the level of manipulating you in ways in which you can't even put the finger on it ever.
Clara, I have one other question, because we have people from the Talent and HR group as well. And what is your responsibility as employer, or what kind of skills, or how can you work with your team within a company to prepare them, help them, I don't know, make them grow into these new skills and work?
Yeah. So I did some work, advisory work with a couple of corporates over the past 2 years. And I have one simple mantra, so no one forgets it. When it comes to upskilling for digital AI age, we need to upskill everybody, from the receptionist all the way to the chair of the board of directors, like everybody. And sometimes, including the people who cleans the office, if they're part of the staff. And you'd wonder, but why? I had some heated, quite a lot of heated debates on this, because it's important on two fronts, as far as I'm concerned, but not a lot of people actually see this. So the reason for which this is important is because when you open education and you empower people to get training in data science, in analytics, in, I don't know, starting to code in Python or anything to do with that, you give them the possibility to become mobile professionally within the organization. I know a case where a receptionist, she's literally like just the high school, fresh out of high school, very young, early 20s. And she thought that she's going to be a receptionist for the rest of her life. And she was invited to be part. I was working for this client and she was a receptionist at their office in London. And she was part of this reskilling program. And guess what? It gave her the possibility to move into data science teams because she discovered a side of herself interested in maths, in precision of numbers and the beauty of numbers and creativity, what you can do with coding, so much that she moved there. And obviously she's making significantly more money and she's significantly more happy in her new role. So coming back to my point, where do we start? We start educating everybody without, it doesn't matter whether they are the board of directors or the chairman or whatever, or the chairwoman, everybody needs to be educated, including the CEO and the receptionist. Because when we do that, we not only we keep people we have, so we don't incur costs to educate other people, because the grass is not always greener, right? So why don't we educate the people we have at home? We've already hired them. How we might as well just educate them and keep them instead of firing them and hiring somebody else. It's a cost. Use that money to train people. And even more importantly, there are so many free educational resources out there. In my newsletter, I have a section every week dedicated to free or very affordable data science courses, machine learning courses, where people can just dive into and learn. Okay, so with one of our clients, we use some of this data as free data sources, and we created an educational program for their staff. And the retention and happiness of those people was far superior than anybody thought that they would achieve. So yes, educate everybody, because you would find a lot of talent, latent talent in the organization, but you also give them the possibility to progress their career in unexpected ways.
A couple of weeks ago, I was in a conference about ecosystems and the future of work, and they talk a lot about this, that there are some jobs that are currently under, that they need more people that they can actually have, such as AI and all this stuff, but also some people who can't find any job. And I think this is a way to create the upskilling in the society little by little, no? And even Saimar says right now that I remember what Coro said about studying AI. She understood if the things she was asking to her team to do were viable or not. So it also helps you to be a better boss, no? Because you can also.
Saimar, you're absolutely right. And here's the value of what you said, because it's not just being a better manager. It's actually that predicament applies across the board of directors and across the executive teams as well. What happens at the board level, the illiteracy, there are so many people who are technology incompetent, so much so that they don't make good decisions, not because they're professionally incompetent, because obviously they've been doing that job for so many years. They know what they do, but what they don't know is to be a director on a board of a technology company, because this is what every single financial services company is nowadays and will become, a technology company. And these people who run majority of these companies, they happen to be executives who've never run a technology company. So they make decisions in an obstructive, incompetent way that actually costs and this destroys business value. We're talking millions, hundreds of millions wasted on projects just because the board didn't know, and the C-suite didn't know exactly where they're going. Because here's another thing which is very important, and Saimar, it's again back to your point. When you know what you're doing, then you have a vision for the future of your organization. You have a business strategy, you have business objectives based on the potential of technology which can support you. But you lead as a competent board and a competent C-suite. You lead with the business objectives, and then you know that technology will come and support those business objectives. The incompetent teams, they do things differently. The way they do them is that they say, we don't know what's going to happen, because obviously they're incompetent, they don't know. And what do you do when you don't know something? You just tiptoe around the subject. So you do a little bit here, a little bit there, and basically you just waste money and you don't achieve anything. And they go for what so many consultants, and I've heard so many Deloittes and PwCs of this world. If there's anyone here from Deloitte and PwC, I'm sorry, please don't take this personally. But I've heard so many consultants, like this big names, coming in to corporates and saying like, you need to invest in machine learning in order to, and what projects you're going to choose? The lowest hanging fruit. The lowest hanging fruit. We're going to test it and see what happens. If it works, and if it doesn't, then it's not going to happen. Well, it's just the wrong way to look at it, because AI projects, 96% of AI projects go to waste. So, we have data. That's data speaking, right? 96% of AI projects go to waste because it's a very difficult technology to make it happen. But if you build it in a way in which it's not designed to scale, and you build it just as a lowest hanging fruit, let's see what happens, it'll never scale. And that's a dead end project. You wasted money. So back to your point, Saimar, if it's important to know all this stuff, to educate yourself, you become a better boss, you become a more powerful, visionary decision maker, which means that you'll make decisions to preserve the welfare and the well-being of your employees and the company. We're talking life and death situation here. Those who don't adopt AI, they will die. Absolutely, there's no way possible, because they won't be able to compete.
Scalable AI, besides, because everything is going to grow in terms of data and size.
Yeah, scalable AI. Just like everybody can do a POC, it's not a big deal. But thing is that you do a POC with a view to scale it, and that's another way of thinking and designing it from the start. Or you do a POC to just like play in your little box there and then see what happens. And then the team on the 3rd floor in the same building, they start building the same thing, but in their little box. And then the two boxes don't talk to each other because they become territorial. No, it's my project. No, it's my project. And then nothing happens. So that's why we need this vision to come from the informed and educated leaders.
I don't know if somebody else has a question, but if not, I wanted to ask you, well, I have so many questions, and with this connection that you talked right now, it connects with my world, which is the world of collaboration and connection and thinking about the future. I think we have a problem that is increased nowadays because there's the worry of the present, but also a sense of urgency about the future, and people don't know how to leverage these projects, and low-hanging fruits are just in the way, no? But I don't want to open my own my own turf, and I know that you only can be hours talking about. I wanted maybe more connect to the women in tech spirit here and draw from your experience, Clara. What would you say is the skill, because you've been developing your own career in this for years, and maybe, many of us are new to this world, no, or are integrating these decisions in your own experience, in your own career, what would be like the skill or the moment that you said, that's something I should have done earlier, or something that you shouldn't have done, you know, to maybe better grow in your own career path?
So I made the critical decision to leave my cushy job and well-paid executive job in London and
The
Luxembourg.
world of the pivoters, career pivot.
So I made that decision deliberately. It was a deliberate act in 2014, but it didn't happen to me overnight. It happened to me the first time in 11. So 3 years before that. I remember I was put in charge. My training is investment portfolio manager, right? So making investment decisions, buy this, sell that. That's my training. But then I spent a lot of time actually growing businesses and looking at ways of repositioning companies and making them profitable in asset and wealth management. So I found myself at the top after we sold the company here in the UK to a Belgian buyer. The new buyers, they put me in charge with, you know, a post-acquisition integration project on technology and stuff. And that I found myself looking at efficient ways. That was 2011. Efficient ways to integrate technology to address some of the critical problems we have in the back office, including client reporting and client engagement and customer service. So I found myself looking at like left, right, and center, who was doing what and all that. And I remember I went to my board and I said, again, 2011, I said, we're just doing it the wrong way. We need to invest in this kind of technology, which is automating processes, but in a way in which you can derive insights from that and you understand what's happening in your business. And I said to my board, it's called, some call it artificial intelligence from what I see. And then you could just imagine 8 men, glasses down, they looked at me as if I was just gone, you know, just came from the moon with 3 legs and 5 arms and telling them all that. So obviously they said no. They said no because no one else was doing it. And that was, to me, that was the inflection point. That's when I realized that actually I'm seeing things so well far ahead of me that I need to pay attention. In 2014, December came when I submitted all my work, completed my project, and I resigned. And then I spent 6 months in India trying to detox from the corporate life. And then through that time, I realized that what I wanted to do is to find a way to engage with this new wave of technology and find ways to build trust with technology. To me, that's my driving force. And then I made the decision to get into the academic side, so, and also to code, because I wanted to be someone in the tech rather than around the tech. So I wanted to be able to talk to engineers, to engage, to like really be into the real problems. And then I founded my advisory company, which was management advisory, but also data science. And the rest is history. So I did it, but my mantra was, I want to get into it. I want to learn how to code. I was just force feeding myself AI papers written by scientists, data scientists. And I know maths is something I've always loved, but I just had to push myself. And the more that's when you learn, when it's uncomfortable. And I put myself through a 1.5 years of very uncomfortable times. And at the end of it, I felt very comfortable. So how do you go about it? How do you change yourself? It's simply just be intellectually curious. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be like foreign language to you, but keep pushing, keep adding on information, because that compounds. And before you know it, you'll be so competent and fluent in what you say that people will pay attention to you and pay you more.
You know, I just had a flashback because, and this is a personal anecdote, when I met you in 2017, and I got so fixated on you because of that moment, you know, that we kept connecting afterwards. But in that moment, I asked you the same question as today, and you gave me a similar answer, of course. And it resonated with me so much because I was experimenting the similar journey. And in fact, I didn't know what kind of questions I was asking myself until I heard you talk about that, you know, and at some point, I think it's a journey where you understand that you are ready to embrace a next challenge because you want to dig deeper into something that you are passionate about and that you need the skills to do that, and you need to create a circumstance around it, you know. And it was 2017, I remember, and at the end of 2018 I left BBVA, you know. So for me it was also a journey. And I know here in the group we have many women who have done this, and even, like, for example, Beatriz, she's now she's a coder. She left a life of management and stuff, and she said, I want to learn to code, and now she is coding in Cabify. You know, she's an engineer.
Wonderful, Beatrice. Hello.
Beatrice,
well done.
Yes.
Where are you? Yes, I can see you. Well done. I'm so proud of you. Anybody can do this. And I'll tell you something. You know, when you learn that you learn things, sorry, you know, when you know that you learn things, it feels uncomfortable. It hurts. But keep going, because that's when you learn, isn't it, Beatrice? You know, and I believe that I don't code well, but I'll never code anything meaningful. But like with foreign languages, like a linguist, you know, when a good line of code is well written, it's like a piece of poetry, honestly. And it's just, I want you all to, if you take one thing from me today, maths is an amazing subject. It teaches you so much about life. I'm going to write so much about this and what mathematics means to life. And you'll see that the more you learn about it, the more you actually fall in love with it. Mathematics, it's beautiful. There is poetry in numbers. And I say it from the bottom of my heart. Try to find that creativity side of engaging with coding and maths and the beauty of this world. Tell me about yours. How was your experience? I'd love to find out about it.
Well, I'm so happy right now because you know, when you start to code, as I'm a beginner in that world. So every day I'm learning new things, and this is amazing for me. I mean, every day I go to bed and I'm so happy that I'm learned like a bunch of things, and I'm like, yeah. and you feel that you're in a world that is all the time changing. So you're never gonna feel like stuck. You can always change, or you can always learn something new, or you will have a new technology that you can learn. And I don't know, this is really, I don't know how you say it, but you feel
it's alive. It's a live environment. It's living with you. You never get bored of it. And you're absolutely, I love this angle. I really do, actually. It's you there with the groove, you know. You can never get bored by this. So I love it. I'm so proud of you. I really am. Well done. Keep going. The next thing, you need to embed ethical considerations in everything you do, because that's the mission of every single coder. We rely on you and on your knowledge to do that for us.
It's so energetic also at the same time, and gives you power and control of your own life at the end, no? You have news.
Yeah, because you make more money. It's financial independence.
Exactly. And also I think it's it's a good thing that this world that we're living is a dynamic world, but also it's the challenge that we have, no, to adapt. And in this way, we are getting the right kinds of skills. I don't know if anyone was.
The good news about that is that it enables your cognitive abilities to always stay young. And it's one of the reasons for which, you know, people get older later in life. The more we engage our brain with new activities, with uncomfortable situations like learning new things, the more we actually, that's an anti-aging secret to life.
Bye, Marta. Well, yes, it's already 7, and I know that we could have well 7.
Oh yeah,
6
we
your
can.
Time. 6 your time.
Yeah, we can carry on, but I'd like to leave you all with one idea, and let's do this experiment together. For those who were not at the beginning of the call, please sign up to my newsletter, to the free version of it. Learn something new every Sunday morning. It comes into your inbox, and then see how you feel after first month, after second month, or the third month. It's like small bite sizes, it compounds over time, and you become more powerful and more knowledgeable. So that's all I'm asking you today to do. If you, it doesn't cost anything. It's just my gift to everybody, to empower them with the knowledge.
We might even do like a kind of a round table or an open chat, no? Just to share among what we've learned. We can invite you to our LinkedIn chat, Clara, so we can maybe there do like just these random every month chats or
let's do that. Let's do
so
that,
we can
because
keep the push.
It's so important to keep going. I feel so privileged to have been invited today to talk to you. I'd love to hear more about every single one of you. You're amazing, and all of you, you're doing such an important work. And it's true, it's an honor and a privilege to be here with you. And I treasure this connection, and hopefully I'll see you sometime soon. If not, hopefully we'll be in touch every week on the email.
For sure. And now, well, I don't know if anyone else, Olga, Patricia, Alicia, do you want to add anything, ask anything, comment?
Absolutely, please do.
I have one quick question, if I can.
Yes,
First of all, Clara, I think you're a true game changer. Thank you for sharing with us everything that you said. I just wanted if you could just add some quick considerations about ethics in AI, because you mentioned it several times, but if you can add just some quick bullet points.
So we have some key points which we need to address at the point of at the point of using data, and also creating, then designing algorithms, coding. And one is bias. And under the bias, I want you all to understand one thing, and please take away this because it's very important. Gender bias. There are quite a few biases. I write in my book about them. There are different types of biases in data. But gender bias, it's one type of bias which is impossible to be removed. And this is very serious, because if we do not cleanse the data, which we run then through algorithms at a point of usage, then that bias stays there and it gets amplified, out of control. So we have to be like very careful. So first point is bias. Second point on ethics is auditability of systems. Just as scientists in a chemistry lab, they document everything they do, and you know exactly what they did when they run tests or when they build new medicines or new drugs. In the same way, coders in data science, in AI system design and builders and maintenance, they need to document what they do. So that's auditability, right? And then the third point is explainability of systems. So there are systems which are explainable there are different type of algorithms, but there are other type of algorithms which are not explainable, and they're referred to as black box algorithms. They can be explained, but it's expensive. It can be done, but it's expensive. A lot of organizations say, no, we're not going to do it because it's impossible. That's wrong. It can be done. How do you do it? You build it from the beginning, from the inception, is explainability by design. And that's when you invest, so that it's easier than to, follow through and be in line with regulations and explain how decisions are being made. And that's important. So the three key ethics considerations are this: bias, traceability, auditability of systems, and explainability of systems. This would be the main three. There are much more, but if you sign up to my newsletter, you'll see that I have a governance component of my newsletter, an ethics subset, where every week I write something about it. So it's important to, keep up to speed with things which are being done in this field.
Thank you very much, Clara.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No? Well, I think we already used your generosity, Clara, as we said.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure. I want to stay in touch with every single one of you. Please do. The best way is to sign up to my newsletter. You can always reply to the emails you receive, because I read them all and I reply to them all. Sometimes slower, but I try my best. Bear with me. And I want to stay in touch with you all, because I want to see you telling me in 12 months, Clara, I'm making 30% more money because I've invested time in data science and I've got a better paid job. So that's what I want to hear. Minimum 30%.
Okay, I'm in. Thank you very much, Clara. I will invite you to the LinkedIn group so we can maybe open a chat or a conversation. Let's see, because we are just inventing this network ourselves right now. But it would be amazing to find like practical results from this learning and to discuss them. And who knows? Well, let's see.
I want you to be ambitious, okay? Yes. And to be confident that you can do anything you put your mind to. There are so many resources out there. And the fact that we are not men doesn't mean anything. Do you know why? In the UK, we have a strong history of women playing a key role in computing. Right at the end of the Second World War, is the famous ENIAC computer, one of the most powerful computers in the world, was built by six women. And wow. It's so important. We forget about those things. And it's so important to remind ourselves that we can do any of this. It's actually mathematics and numbers on their own. They don't know gender. They don't know gender bias. So let's just use that to our advantage. Be confident and be ambitious. Never accept anybody telling you, oh, no, you're a woman, you don't know these things, because you'll hear that. But be ambitious.
I think this is the perfect energy and the perfect note to end a perfect session. Thank you very much, Clara. Everybody clap.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I look forward to staying in touch with you all. Big hug to everybody.
Thank you.